Welcome back everybody to another Take It Racing devlog. In this one we'll be looking at what I've done since the last video. That'll be including some of the new tracks, some of the new cars that I will be putting in. Unfortunately there won't be an update soon, mainly because of GB Studio 3. I'll talk about it later. If you don't remember what Take It Racing 2 is, it's currently a demo of a racing game I'm making. The idea is you buy cars and you compete in races. As you can see here, the races aren't like you would expect normal race games to be. You're looking at the thing from top down, and you're choosing how you want to drive your car. So there are stats in the section, and then you can choose how to drive for each section. And depending on your own car stats, then you'll obviously change position or maybe even run out of fuel. And you can also pit to get your fuel back, which obviously might slow you down. As you might already tell from this, there are some flaws that may not make it as fun, like knowing your own car stats and comparing them to these here. I want to add color to this game so that I can give a indicator of red, yellow, or green to know how you should be driving or how you might want to drive. And obviously, if everything's green, you might want to drive fast. If everything's red, you might want to go eco, right? So I'm hoping that by adding some color, we can give the player some more feedback in order to let them connect with the game a bit better. Also on simplification, as you can see, we have stats here. We have handling, braking, and engine bay. And then if you click on more, it tells you your power and fuel consumption. And what I'm thinking of doing is removing this engine bay size and just having the speed and fuel consumption right here, so there's no need for this extra button down here. And that should simplify things, and by removing the engine bay, I should also just make it easier to buy and sell cars without being frustrated that you can't enter a certain car. The main thing I'm going to have it focus on is which region it's from. And if we go back to that map you saw in the buy and sell screen, then it will just be Americas, Europe, and Asia, and obviously within that there are countries. But overall, it's the region that matters. This is for simplicity on the coding half, and also I found that it's much easier to just focus on those stats as a player as well. So if you remember in the last video, I showed you this spreadsheet. We have all of these stats here. As you can see, I laid out all the championships, and if we look at the timeline, I laid out what I want to happen in the 1950s. If you remember, the game goes from 1950 to 1989. So I want to spread out the content throughout those years, and also provide cars that are constantly getting better as time goes on. I haven't fully balanced these stats yet. I will once I've thought about the entire game from start to finish, what the maximum stats will be, what the minimum stats will be. Then obviously I can balance that accordingly, so that it is worth buying the most expensive cars, and expensive cars at the start are still useful like midway through the game. And this is quite a hard balance, so it will take some time. If we look at the championship tracks here, you can see it does have an estimate of how long it takes, but if we go to the actual racetracks themselves, you can see that I haven't done them all yet. Each of these ones that has numbers in the section bits means that I've made the artwork for it. So that means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tracks left to do, and I can show you the artwork now and how I've been making it. So this is an example of a track. It may look a bit messy around the edges, but if we turn on the screen size here, this is if you remember from the game, this is the size of the track that you can see. So as you can see, each of these pieces will be inside the screen that the player sees, and so everything on the outside of that is completely, it's wasted. It doesn't matter. As you can see, this one's called Watkins Glen, and I haven't. This is obviously based on a real world track, if you didn't know. And obviously, I will rename these tracks, and I have obviously made some creative liberties with the shape of these tracks in order to make them fit within the screens better. Obviously, as I've gone on making these, I've tried to optimize it for screen use. So as you can see, this isn't a circuit. This is a like a long distance track, a rally. It's meant to be in a desert. If I turn off the screens, then if I zoom in, then you can see it's very simple. If I turn on the screens again, then obviously this screen here is what you'd actually see in the game. minus the red tint, of course. I've got this one here, which is obviously another rally one. I'm trying to imagine that it's in the Alpine mountains, so it's snow. I'm hoping this reads well, but obviously it might not, and I may have to change it in the future. The great thing about not having deadlines for this is that I can go back and fix things when they're broken, and that's why I'm excited about GB Studio 3. So this is in obviously GB Studio 2, and I did migrate it over into GB Studio 3, and unfortunately it didn't work. So I went in and I deleted everything that I thought might be an issue, knowing about what the differences are between GB Studio 2 and 3. And obviously with this new update of GB Studio 3.0.3, I did manage to get it to run, but there were a lot of issues, graphical errors. So I will have to go back and fix that stuff. But I'm thinking about that positively because I will get to remake some things. Some things were obviously basically prototypes that I was copy and pasting around that became very unwieldy. I want to make sure that almost everything is in a custom event that I can easily, change the stats of. If we see here, this race has 15 races, and this one has 7. I'm thinking now that maybe every single race in the game will have the same amount of races, and this will obviously mean that I can stay consistent with this artwork. As you can see, there's like a grid of of races, but when we go into 7, there's way more than 7 here. And so hopefully I can be consistent with that aspect as well. If I do go back and I remove some of those extra things that increase complexity for no real reason other than, that's how it is in real life, when arguably we don't need to copy real life. We want to, gamify everything, right? Another aspect of the spreadsheet that I am obviously focusing on, mainly because I enjoy it, is the artwork for the cars. And obviously, if you remember, in this spreadsheet I have, let's have a look. I have 864 cars that I obviously researched by looking around on Google and Wikipedia of cars that obviously I could have put into the game. And then if we scroll up, I've tagged with icon the ones I actually want. So the ones I actually want is 232, and obviously I could have 255 cars in the game, and obviously that would be the maximum based on the way I've currently set up the game. I'm thinking that the 232 obviously might be a bit much for me to put into the game, and I'm not sure how it will be handled by the game, but I'm hoping it will be possible. As you can see, I've got an artwork column here where I've ticked all the ones where I've done the artwork for. If you remember, I did all of 1950 already, but I didn't make that playable yet in this version. So I would like to, get out a version where you guys can play through this. But obviously, like I said, with the championship tracks and the race timeline, I want to balance everything for the entire game. I don't want to just balance 1950. I want to balance the entire game, and then I would want to be able to, show it to people, right? Because otherwise, if I balance it for 1950 and then I have to rebalance it after that, then it's kind of a waste of balancing in the first place, right? So what I've been doing is I'm going through the artwork of these cars, and it's been very relaxing. I've just been doing, a little every day, like that other video I made, and I've slowly got through all of these. So I'll show you some of those. So I obviously, to test them, to make sure that they're all in the same scale of each other, I've, brought them in here. I've made them grayscale, so we can actually have a look at them, alongside each other. But I am very happy with how these is going. I found that to make a car, all I basically have to do is copy and paste one that looks similar, and then, maybe extend it, shorten it, and then change the front, maybe change the angle of the pillar here, and then, redo the door. So I'll go through some of them, and you can see them more. And I've had a lot of fun doing the logos for these cars. So this is obviously, the DMC DeLorean. It may not be very recognizable without the time machine aspects to it, but I'm hoping this is somewhat recognizable. This one's meant to be a Mercury Cougar, and I am thinking of redesigning this whole bit here, so it will probably be black with stuff in white on it, so that it stands out just like this text does. And I'll probably, reformat some of this. And like I said, the stats bit needs to be actually dependent on what the stats are, which I need to balance, obviously. So it's kind of you know, this whole stuff is kind of needing to be redesigned. This is obviously a Jaguar E-Type, and hopefully it looks as curvy as the one in real life. This is another Jaguar. This is like an experimental race car, and it looks very weird in real life, and it definitely looks weird here too. But if you know what it is, then hopefully you're glad that it's going to probably make it into the game. This is a Lola. This is the same kind of car from that was like the evolution of the GT40. This is where the GT40 kind of came from. Obviously, it's a reaction to like Ferrari and stuff in the 1960s, making really good Le Mans cars. Obviously, I've called it a Vala instead of a Lola. Hopefully, hopefully whenever I create a brand, sometimes I check to see if it's a real brand, but other times I don't. Other times I maybe it's a clothing company, and I don't mind that I'm making it a fake car company in the game. This is a Ferrari 250 GTO. Obviously, it's a Fazla 264 GTO. I really like this car in real life. If you know my 3D modeling, I kind of made a car similar to it and put it into Unreal. This is the Ferrari I was talking about. It's actually a 330p in real life. It's like the prototype, a car that was in Le Mans 66. And then when we get into stuff like this, where the cars are F1 cars in the 70s and 60s, they are kind of just like, they're definitely an evolution of the S-Class cars. Obviously, S is like Formula Class. You see, this is how I had them before. They're very large, and I feel like these maybe need to be scaled down, but they were very large, so they didn't really know the physics of speed. And if I put these side by side, maybe they will look a bit silly, but I think they would look silly in real life as well. So I'm kind of okay with it, but I am thinking of redesigning these original versions. Now I'm a lot better and more confident at making artwork like this. Yeah, here's another one. This one's obviously the like a famous Honda. I think I got two here. And like seeing the exhaust pipes going up like that, I tried to make that. And there's kind of like a roll bar there, but as you can see, I'm trying to make them different but similar. And then the last one I got here to show you is like a Lotus. I can't remember exactly what this is, but a Lotus E something, And obviously this is just to showcase that I can have smaller cars, bigger cars, S-Class cars, formula cars. So yeah, I obviously am enjoying making the artwork more than anything. And once I have the artwork, I can think about, the balancing. And once I've got all the tracks in, I can think about balancing the tracks and think about the relationship between the car's stats and the track stats. And then have a way of making sure the player is aware of their own, basically skill. And because I'm going to be putting it into GB Studio 3, I'm thinking of redesigning some of the actual aspects of racing. There are some things that don't really make sense when larger numbers are involved, so I'll try and make it so it will scale better, and hopefully that will be fun as well. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this update of Ticket Racing 2. Obviously, it's still in progress. I've been working on it for over a year now. I remember it wasn't obviously this Christmas just gone. It was the Christmas before. I was sketching in my sketchbook ways of maybe making Ticket Racing 2 based off of the original Ticket Racing I made. So it's definitely been more than a year now since I started working on this. But I do think that's a great thing. I do think that time does teach you. And I have learnt a lot about GB Studio working in this, and about the limits that there are, and different ways you can optimize your working output in order to make sure that you're not wasting time on copy and pasting. And you should be designing for the future and making sure that you're testing and prototyping in order to basically make the best experience for your player possible. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you like looking at the sneak peeks of my work so far. I'm very sorry if you were excited for the release of this game, but I am taking my time with it and hoping that it will be an amazing game when it's done. And even if let's say, for example, that the game is too big, right? Let's say that I can't have 232 cars or however many it was. Let's say I can't have all of these racetracks in the game. I do think it's a good thing that I am making it, because it means that I can pick and choose the best ones when I get to that point. And maybe I can make, Take It Racing 2 and then call it 1960s, let's say, if we can't make, if we can't fit in anything beyond 1950s, and then, have different versions after that. And I do also really like the car artwork. I would love to, have like t-shirts with this stuff on just for myself, even if no one else cared. Because I do really enjoy making these little artworks. I think my favorite at the moment is this, Lola, I think it's T70 in real life. Mainly just because it's got like these hard lines and soft curves. I really like how it's turned out. I really do. So yeah, let me know which car is your favorite, which cars maybe you want to see in the game, which tracks you want to see in the game. Obviously, most of the tracks currently are just named after real tracks, and I do want to name them more interestingly. So I want to get my patrons involved. I want to get my subscribers involved when I get to that point. So yeah, leave me suggestions on what you might want to see. Obviously, these tracks here I haven't fully made yet. And if there is a track you want to see in the game, then maybe let me know and I can see what I can do. Yeah, I would put my patrons up on the screen right now. Thank you so much to you guys. I'd really want to hear what you think about this. Remember to like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment on what you want to see next, what you think of this, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.